The Great Southwest Radio Theater Project is on the air. Live from the historic Women's Club in Coolidge, Arizona, the Great Southwest Radio Theater Project presents a Veterans Benefit performance of radio dramas for the Open Hands Veterans Outreach Center. Tonight we bring you the classic story adapted from a great American author, Mark Twain, and Huckleberry Finn, one of his favorite novels, followed by an original Arizona story entitled The Red Ghost, created and written by our own Great Southwest Radio Theater actor and writer, Bill Alwyn. We bring you our first drama, but first, a word from our sponsor.
Dream girl, beautiful luster cream girl.
Tonight, show him how much lovelier your hair can look after Luster Cream shampoo. Only Luster Cream brings you K-Duma's magic formula blend of secret ingredients plus gentle lanolin. Gives loveliness to lather even in the hardest water. Glamorizes your hair even as you wash it. Luster Cream, not a soap, not a liquid, but a dainty cream shampoo. Leaves your hair fragrantly clean, free of loose dandruff, glistening with sheen, soft, manageable. Gives new beauty to all hairdos or permanents. 4-ounce jar, $1, smaller sizes in either tubes or jars. Tonight, try a Luster Cream shampoo and be a
Dream girl, beautiful luster cream girl. You owe your crowning glory to Luster Cream shampoo. Two beans times 2 beans make 4 beans.
Nescafe uses much more beans.
10 beans times 4 beans and add 3 more beans make 43 rich coffee beans.
Yes, you get 43 beans in every cup of Nescafe.
Real coffee beans, that's all there is in Nescafe.
43 beans in every cup make Nescafe the all-coffee instant coffee.
With the let's have another cup taste.
Extra beans means extra flavor. Today's Nescafe goes all the way for flavor with 43 choice beans in every cup. So be sure to always keep a 12-ounce jar of Nescafe instant coffee in your kitchen cupboard so that you can enjoy a delicious hot cup of Nescafe instant coffee.
You get 43 beans in every cup of Nescafe.
Real coffee beans, that's all there is in Nescafe.
43 beans in every cup make Nescafe the all-coffee instant coffee.
With the let's have another cup taste.
And now sit back and relax with a hot cup of Nescafe instant coffee, and please welcome our GSR jazz singer, Carlos Jimenez.
You make me feel so young. You make me feel so spring has sprung. And every time I see you grin, I'm such a happy individual. The moment that you speak, I want to go and play hide and seek. I want to go and bounce the moon just like a toy balloon. You and I are just like a couple of tots running across the meadow, picking up lots of forget-me-nots. You make me young. You make me feel there are songs to be sung, bells to be rung, wonderful flings to be flung. And even when I'm old and gray, I'm gonna feel the way I do today. 'Cause you make me feel so young. You make me young. You make me feel so spring has sprung. And every time I see you grin, I'm such a happy individual. The moment that you speak, I wanna go and play hide and seek. I wanna go and bounce the moon just like a toy balloon. You and I are just like a couple of tots running across the meadow, picking up lots of forget-me-nots. You make me young. You make me feel there are songs to be sung, bells to be rung, wonderful flings to be flung. And even when I'm old and gray, I'm gonna feel the way I do today. 'Cause you make me feel so young. You make me feel so young. You make me feel so young. Oh, you make me feel so young.
Carlos Jimenez. Let's hear it for Carlos. The makers of Campbell's Soup present the Campbell Playhouse, originally directed by Orson Welles. Good evening. Our story is Huckleberry Finn. Mark Twain's cast of characters await their cues, but right now they would like me to read to you in a loud, clear voice, quote, "Persons attempting to find a motive in this narrative will be prosecuted. Persons attempting to find a moral in it will be banished. Persons attempting to find a plot in it will be shot by order of the author." You are probably expecting to hear the dramatization of Huckleberry Finn, good, clear, concise. Ladies and gentlemen, you will hear no such thing. We're sorry, but we think that Huck Finn is too good of a book to be dramatized, exactly speaking, so we won't. We don't even have to. For one thing, the story hasn't got what you call a plot. The principal plot relates to the saga of a voyage down the Mississippi by the most celebrated river rat the world has ever known. We're going to tell most of that story and as many of the others as we can, as nearly as possible, in Mark Twain's own words.
You don't know about me. Without you, you've read a book by the name of Adventures of Tom Sawyer. But that ain't no matter. That book was made by Mr. Mark Twain, and he told the truth mainly. There's some stretches in it, but then I never seen anybody but lied one time or another, whether it was Aunt Polly or Mary or the widow Douglas. Anyways, that book ends up with Tom and me finding the money that the robbers hid in the cave, and it made us rich. And widow Douglas, she took me for a son and allowed she would civilize me. It was rough at first, going to school every day and living in a house all the time, considering how dismal, regular, and decent the widow was in all her ways, but mostly things were going pretty smooth. That is, until the night I killed a spider.
Huck was sitting in his room, tired and lonesome, trying to think of something cheerful, but it was no use. He felt so lonesome he wished he was dead. The stars were shining, the leaves rustled in the woods ever so mournfully. There was an owl way off, hoo-hooing as if someone was dead. And there was a dog crying about somebody that was gonna die, and the wind was trying to whisper something to him. And way out in the woods, he heard that kind of a sound that was ghostly. The candle was almost burned away.
When this here spider went crawling up my shoulder, I flipped it off and it lit on the candle, and before I could budge, it was all shriveled up. I didn't need Mrs. Watson's slave Jim to tell me that that was an awful bad sign and it would fetch me some bad luck. But I thought that maybe I might as well know the worst, because then the thought of my pappy came to mind. Mighty powerful folks claimed, that my pap was dead, but something inside me told me better. So I put out the candle and I climbed out the window and I shimmied down the lightning rod and started out to Jim's place. Jim had a hairball as big as your fist that he took out of the stomach of an ox, and you could do magic with it.
There's a spirit inside that knows anything, Huck. What you want to know, huh? Thinking about your pap? Well, let me see. What did the spirit say? He said, your father don't know what he gonna do. Sometimes he expect you go away, sometimes he expect you stay. That's the way he is, the old man, taking his own way. But you was all right. You're gonna have some trouble in your life and considerable joy. Sometimes you're gonna get hurt, sometimes you're gonna get sick. But every time, you're gonna get well again. He wants you to keep away from that water as much as you can. And don't run no risk. It's down the river that's gonna cause you to get hung.
Thank you, Jim.
It isn't everybody can rest easy and know for sure he's going to be hung. I was kind of low-spirited the next morning. I went down to the front garden and clumb over the stile where you go through the high-board fence. There was an inch of new snow on the ground, and I seen somebody's tracks. I didn't notice anything at first, but next I did. There was a cross in the left heel boot held on with big nails to keep off the devil. And then I knew. And that night when I lit my candle and went up to my room, there sat Pap, his own self.
Surprised, ain't you, huh? Starch clothes, eh? Think you're a big deal, don't you?
No, I don't, Pap.
Don't give me none of your lip. You put on a considerable amount of frills since I've been away. I'll take you down a peg before I get done with you. You're educated too, they say, can read and write. You think you're better than your old man now, don't you? 'Cause he can't. I'll take it out of you. Who told you you could meddle in such highfalutin foolishness, huh? Who told you you could?
The widow, she told me.
The widow, huh? Who told the widow she could put in a shovel about a thing that ain't none of her business?
Nobody never told her.
I'll learn her how to meddle. Now looky here. You drop that school, you hear? I don't cotton to no people to bring up a boy to put on airs over his own pappy. Now, what's that yonder on the wall?
It's a picture the widow gave me. It's just a little old picture.
There. That'll do with that. And I'll give you something better than that. I'll give you a cowhide. Ain't you a sweet-scented dandy? A bed in bedclothes, a looking glass, a piece of carpet on the floor. Your pappy's got to sleep with the hogs in the tanyard. I've never seen such a son. I'll take some of them frills out of you before I'm done with you. Why, there ain't no end to your ears. They say you're rich, huh? Is that so?
I ain't got no money.
Oh, that's a lie. Judge Thatcher's got it. You got it. I want it.
I got only $1, and I want that too.
It don't make no difference what you want it for. You just shell it out.
Well, you can have the $1.
I can have the $1. I'll bet your bottom dollar you'll have more than that. I'm taking you with me, and if your widow Douglas wants you bad enough, they can come get you. There's a law that says a child belongs to his parents. If they want you, they can pay a good penny for you. You understand that? Now, you come along with your pap.
I'm not going.
Oh, yes, you are.
Oh, no, Pap. I can't leave.
Old Man Finn took Huck over to the Illinois shore to an old log hut where it was woody, and there was no house, just this hut. A place where the timber was so thick you couldn't find it even if you knew where it was. He'd lock Huck in and go off with a gun that he'd stolen someplace, and he'd get game and fish and trade them for whiskey. He'd fetch it home, get drunk, and beat Huck, and then reach for the jug again, saying he guessed he'd had enough in that jug for 2 drunks and delirium tremors.
It's all just as Mr. Twain says, but I finally fooled Pap and I got away. I was scared of being followed, and I didn't want nobody knowing where I was, Pap or the widow Douglas or Judge Fletcher or nobody. So I just bided my time. I had an old saw hid up, and when Pap was gone, which was considerable, I'd hack away at the boards of the cabin until I made a hole big enough to get through. One day Pap went away to town to get drunk. I found an old canoe and I hid it up the creek a ways, but it was a wild hog I caught in the marsh that gave me my real idea. It was pretty good, if I do say so of myself, only I did wish for Tom Sawyer to be there. I knowed he'd have taken interest in the business and would have added some fancy touches. I shot the pig and fetched it in and laid it on the floor of the cabin and hacked it into its throat with an axe to bleed. Then I dragged him clear down the riverbank, leaving a trail all along the way. I pulled out some of my hair and blooded the axe good and stuck it on the backside. After hacking up the cabin considerable, I slung the axe in the corner. When I was done, I could have sworn there had been a murder committed, and I was dead. And then sticking the pig in the sack, I jumped into the canoe and I took off downstream.
Well, Huck followed the river a couple of miles or more, and the further he got, the longer that river seemed, stretching miles and miles and miles, it seemed. The moon was so bright he could count the drift logs that went slipping along, black and still, hundreds of yards out from shore. Everything was dead quiet.
You know how it is. The sky looks ever so deep when you lay down on your back in the moonshine, and how far a body can hear on the water such nights. I had to laugh all to myself, thinking about how all them boats was cruising about looking for my drowned body and me lying within shouting distance. It was about 3 days later that I saw a fire through the trees and a man laying on the ground. It was Miss Watson's Jim.
Hello, Jim.
I said.
No, don't you hurt me. Don't you hurt me. I ain't never done no harm to a ghost.
Ghost?
I always liked dead people and done all I could for them. You could go on and get back in the river where you belong. And don't you do nothing to old Jim, because I'm your friend.
I'm not dead, Jim.
Huh? What's that you say?
If I was dead, could I say it?
I'll pretend that you ain't. But if I find out you is, I'd run like a scared rabbit.
All right, Jim. How you come to be here?
Well, it's better not to tell.
Why, Jim?
Well, there's reasons. You wouldn't tell on me if I was to tell you, would you, Huck?
Blamed if I would, Jim.
Well, I believe you, Huck. I run off.
You run off. Jim!
Remember, you said you wouldn't tell. You said you wouldn't tell, Huck.
Well, I did. I said I wouldn't, and I'll stick to it. Honest, Jim, I will. I ain't going back there anyways.
Thank you, Huck. Look at the young birds coming along, flying up through the trees and roosting.
What about them young birds?
Oh, that's a sign of storms are coming. It's going to rain.
Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I'll catch some of them.
Oh, no, you can't. You can't do that. You mustn't. That'll be death.
Heck, a lot of things are bad luck, aren't they, Jim?
Well, you can't go against the sign.
Looks to me as all those signs are about bad luck. Aren't there any good luck signs?
Mighty few. There ain't no use to nobody. What you want to know is when good luck's coming for it. You want to keep it off? If you got hairy arms and a hairy breast, that's a sign you're going to be rich. Well, there's some use in a sign like that.
Have you got hairy arms and a hairy breast, Jim?
What's the use asking that question? Don't you see our hairs?
It's raining, Jim.
Ain't no surprise to me. I see the signs. Listen to me, child. Chickens know when it's going to rain, and so do the birds. I got to get out of these woods and get me someplace warm.
Well, it rained for 12 days. The river went on rising and went clear over the banks. And one day, it caught up with the raft where they had collected their things, which they had much of by now. Even some women's clothes they found in a deserted shack along the river. On the 13th day, the rain stopped.
I reckon I'll slip over the river, Jim, and find out what's going on.
That's a right fine idea, Huck. But you better go in the dark and look mighty sharp. How about them women clothes?
How about them, Jim? Do I look like a girl?
It looks like they was made for you. With that sunbonnet on your head tight, seeing your face looking down a joint in the stovepipe. And you want to be sure you don't hitch up your dress.
What you mean?
Don't go put your pocket in your breeches.
Well, land sakes, little girl, come here.
Thank you, ma'am.
What might your name be?
Sarah Williams.
Whereabouts do you live? In this neighborhood?
No, in Huckleberry, 7 miles below.
Well, that's a considerable ways to the up end of town. You'd better stay here all night. Take off your bonnet.
No, I'll rest a while, I reckon, and then go on. I ain't afeard of the dark.
We've got plenty of excitement around here. A young boy called Huck Finn was killed the other day. For a while, some people thought his own pap did it. Most everybody thought it at first. You never know how nigh he come to getting lynched. But before night, they changed around and decided it was done by a runaway slave named Jim.
What he?
What was you gonna say?
Nothing, ma'am. Are they after him?
Well, you are innocent, ain't you? Does $300 lay around every day for people to pick up? Some people think he ain't far from here.
No.
I'm one of them, but I ain't talked it around. What did you say your name was?
Mary Williams.
I thought you said it was Sarah when you first come in.
Yes, I did. Sarah Mary Williams. Mary. Sarah's my first name. Some calls me Sarah, and some calls me Mary.
I see, Sarah Mary. I wonder if you would do a favor for me.
Anything you say, ma'am.
Hold this ball of yarn for me. Here, catch.
Oh, shucks. I didn't mean to drop it, ma'am.
Just as I thought. Now, what's your real name? Is it Bill or Tom or Bob or what?
Oh, please don't poke fun at a little girl like me, ma'am. If I'm in the way here...
Now, you can tell me your secret, and trust me, I'll keep it. And what's more, I'll help you. What's your real name now?
George Peters, ma'am.
Well, try to remember it, George. You do a girl tolerable poor. Bless you, child. When a girl tries to catch anything in her lap, she throws her knees apart. She don't clap them together like the way you did when you tried to catch that ball of yarn. Now, trot along, Sarah Mary Williams, George Peters. And if you get into trouble, you send word to Mrs. Judith Loftus, which is me, and I'll do what I can to get you out of it.
Thank you, ma'am. You've been awful kind to a poor little girl.
What's that?
I mean a poor little boy, and he ain't never gonna forget it.
Thank you, ma'am.
For days, Huck and Jim slid down the waters of the Mississippi on the raft bound for Cairo at the bottom of Mississippi. They traveled at night, laying up along the Missouri shore in daytimes, and in mornings before daylight, Huck would slip into a melon patch where it would be nice and cool for their breakfast. They'd laze through the day and swim a little, maybe. Huck would show off his education and read to Jim out of a book they picked up on one of their excursions. He read about kings and dukes and earls.
How much does a king get?
They get $1,000 a month if they want it. They can have just as much as they want. Everything belongs to them.
Ain't that something? What they gotta do, huh?
They don't do nothing. They just sit around.
No, is that so?
Yeah, they just lay around and go hawking. Other times when things are dull, they lay with fuss with the parliament, and if everything don't go just so, he'll whack their heads off. Mostly they hang around the harem.
Around the which?
Harem.
What's the harem?
It's a place where the king keeps his wives. Don't you know about the harem? Solomon. Oh, he had about 1 million wives.
Oh man, is that so? And harem's a boarding house, I reckon. It must have been a rackety times in the nursery.
There's Louis XVI that got his head cut off back in France long ago. And there was a little boy, the Dolphin, who would have been king, but they put him in jail. Some say he died there.
Poor little fella.
Some say he got out and got away, and he came to America.
That's good, but he'd be pretty lonesome. There ain't no kings here, is there, Huck?
No.
Then he can't get in no situation. What he gonna do?
Well, I don't know. Some of them gets on the police, and some of them learns people how to talk French.
Well, don't French people talk the same way we does?
No, Jim, you cannot understand a word they say. Not a single word.
Well now, I'll be dang busted. How did that happen?
Oh, I don't know, but it's so. I got some of their jabber out of a book. Supposing a man was to come up to you and say, "Parlez-vous français?" What would you think?
I wouldn't think nothing. I'd take him and bust him over the head. I wouldn't allow nobody to call me that.
Shucks, it ain't calling you nothing. It's only saying, do you know how to talk French?
Well then, why couldn't he say that?
He is a saying it. That's a Frenchman's way of saying it.
It's a blame ridiculous way. I don't want to hear no more about it. Ain't no sense in it.
Look at here, Jim. Does a cat talk like we do?
No, a cat don't.
Well, then does a cow?
No, a cow don't either.
Well, then does a cat talk like a cow or a cow talk like a cat?
No, they don't.
Well, it's natural and right for them to talk different from each other, then ain't it?
Of course.
Then why ain't it natural for a cat and a cow to talk different from us?
Why, surely it is.
Well, then why isn't it natural and right for a Frenchman to talk different from us? You answer me that.
Well, is a cat a man, Huck?
No.
Well then, there ain't no sense in a cat talking like a man. Is a cow a man, or is a cow a cat?
No, she ain't neither of them.
Well then, they ain't got no business talking like either one or the other. Is a French man a man?
Yes.
Well then, dang blame it. Why don't he talk like a man? You answer me that.
Well, Huck and Jim in just 3 nights more see the lights of Cairo where the Ohio River comes in. They could sell the raft and get on a steamboat and go way up the Ohio amongst the free states where Jim would be safe and out of trouble. So for 3 days and 3 nights they floated on, Jim and Huck alternating on watch. Seemed almost a dozen times one of them thought they saw the lights of Cairo, but every time it turned out to be nothing but a little settlement or something. And then suddenly, on the evening of the 4th day...
Huck!
What's worrying you now, Jim?
Them lights up yonder.
Oh, they ain't so many lights, Jim. We've been fooled before.
It's Carol. Yes, it's the lights of Carol, Huck. Well, we safe, Huck. We safe. Jump up and clack your heels. That's good old Carol land. There it is.
By tarnation, Jim, I reckon you're right. Look at them lights, Jim. Lit up like a Christmas tree. I'm going over there and take the canoe and see. Help me float her.
Here's your paddle, Huck, and here's my coat to put in the bottom. You'll be more comfortable that way.
Let her go, Jim.
Goodbye, Huck. There he goes. The old true Huck, the only white gentleman that ever kept his promise to old Jim.
I was getting sicker and sicker. I didn't know what to do. It was my bond and duty to Miss Watson to not help a runaway slave, but Jim has always been mighty good to me, and his last words, it took all the tuck out of me. I went along slow, not knowing what to do. Right then along comes a skiff with 2 men in it, with guns.
Hey, boy, what's that floating yonder?
It's a raft.
Any men on it?
Only one, sir.
Well, there's 5 slaves run off tonight up yonder at the head of the bend. Is your man white or colored? Well, speak up, boy.
He's white, mister.
All right, boy. You see any runaway slaves, you can help nab them. You can make some money by it. Bye.
Goodbye, sir. I won't let no runaway slaves get by me if I can help it.
Well, they went off, and I got aboard the raft feeling bad and low, 'cause I know very well I done wrong, and I see it weren't no use for me to try and learn to do right. A body that don't get started right when he's little, well, he just ain't got no show. Then I thought a minute, and I says to myself, hold on now, suppose you had done right and give Jim up. Would you have felt better than you do now? Well, I was stuck. I couldn't answer that, so I reckon I wouldn't bother no more about it. But after this, I would always do whichever comes in handy at the time.
2 to 3 days and nights went by. I reckon I might say they swung by. They went by so quiet and so smooth and lovely. The monstrous big river down there, sometimes 1.5 miles wide. Huck and Jim would run at night and hide daytimes, nearly always in the dead water under a towhead. And they'd cut some young cottonwoods and willows to hide their raft with. They'd slide into the river and have a swim so as to freshen up and cool off. And then they'd sit down in the water where it was about knee-deep and watch the daylight come. Not a sound anywhere, perfectly still, just as though the whole world was asleep. Only sometimes the bullfrogs were croaking, and maybe now and then a crow flying over.
Then one morning about daybreak, I took the canoe and I crossed over to the main shore. I wanted to get some berries for Jim and my supper, just about when I was passing a place where a kind of cow path crossed the creek. There comes a couple of men tearing up the path as tight as they could foot it and hanging onto a couple of the rattiest, baddest carpetbags you ever did see.
Boy, save us, hide us.
If you don't, it's the same as murder.
Quickly, boy, quick, they're after us. Let us get in.
Jim, quick, grab the canoe.
Sure thing, Huck.
Well, my boy, you will never regret this here good deed. No sirree, you have saved my life.
2 lives, young man, 2 lives.
Don't you two know each other?
Not till we just met on the way, so to speak.
Well, what got you into trouble, brother?
Well, sir, I've been sent a little article to take off the tartar from the teeth. And it does take it off, too. And generally the enamel along with it. But I stayed 1 night longer than I ought to. What about you, bub?
Well, I ran a little temperance revival in that little town about a week. But somehow a little report got around last night that I had a way with putting in my time with a jug on the sly, and a fellow rousted me out in the morning and told me the people was gathering on the quiet with their dogs and horses. And they'd be along pretty soon and give me about a half-hour start, and then they'd run me down if they could. And if they got me, they'd tar and feather me and ride me on a rail for sure. I didn't wait for no breakfast. I wasn't hungry.
Say, I reckon we might double team it together. What do you think?
Well, I ain't undisposed. What's your line?
Printer by trade. I do a little patent medicines, a theater actor, tragedy, you know. Take a turn at mesmerism and phrenology when there's a chance. Teach singing, geography school for a change, sling a lecture sometimes. Oh, I do a lot of things, most anything that comes handy, as long as it's not work. What's your lay?
I've done considerable in the doctoring way in my time. Laying on the hands is my best work for cancer, paralysis, and such things. And preaching too at camp meetings and missionarying around.
Yeah.
What are you laughing about?
To think that I should have lived to be leading such a life and be degraded down in such company.
Well, darn your skin. Ain't the company good enough for you?
Yes, it's good enough for me. It's as good as I deserve. But who fetched me so low when I was so high? I did. I did it myself. I don't blame you, gentlemen. Far from it. I don't blame anybody. I deserve it all. Let the cold world do its worst. One thing I know is that somewhere there's a grave waiting for me. The world may go on just as it's always done and take everything from me. Loved ones, property, everything. But they can't take away my little old grave. Someday I'm going to lay down in it and forget it all. My poor broken heart will at last be at rest. I ain't blaming you, gentlemen. I brought it upon myself. Yes, I did. I did it all myself.
Oh, brother. Brought you down from where? Where was you brought down from?
Oh, you wouldn't believe me. The world never believes. Let it go, let it go, let it pass. It's no matter. Ah, the secret of my birth.
The secret of your birth? You mean to say, brother? Do you mean to tell me?
Gentlemen, I'm going to reveal to you, for I feel I may have confidence in you. By rights, gentlemen, I am a duke.
A duke?
No, you can't mean it.
Yes, my great-grandfather, the eldest son of the Duke of Bridgewater, fled to this country about the end of the last century. He came to breathe the pure air of freedom, married here and died, leaving his son, his own father, dying about the same time. The second son of the late Duke seized the title and the estate. The real Duke was ignored, and I am the lineal descendant of that infant. I am the rightful Duke of Bridgewater. Gentlemen, and here am I. Oh, Lord, torn from my high estate.
Oh, brother.
I make my amends, despised by a cold world, ragged, torn, heartbroken, and degraded of companionship.
Oh, brother.
Oh, now, don't go crying there, Mr. Duke. I'm powerful sorry for you.
Thanks to all of you. That helps.
If there's anything we can do to help you now.
Well, now, if you was to bow to me when you speak or call me your lordship, I wouldn't mind. In fact, I wouldn't mind if you called me just plain Bridgewater, because, after all, that's a title, not a name.
Of course, your lordship.
And if you want to wait on me at dinner time, not that I like it, but it's what I've always been used to.
Oh, yes?
You hear that, Jim? I reckon I'll have to learn you to say, would your lordship like a drink of water right now?
That won't be necessary.
Would your lordship like a drink of water right now?
That's good. You've got the idea. Fine.
I regret to say, fella, but you ain't the only man who's had troubles like that.
No?
No, you ain't. You ain't the only person that's been snaked down wrongfully off a high place.
No.
No, you ain't the only person that had a secret of his birth.
Hey, hold on. What do you mean?
Bilgewater, can I trust you?
To the bed of death. What's the secret of your being? Come, man, speak.
Bilgewater, I am the late Dolphin.
You're the late what?
Yes, my friend, it is too true. Your eyes are looking at this very moment on the poor disappeared Dolphin, Louis XVII, the son of Louis XVI, and Marie Antoinette.
You, at your age? No. You mean you're the late Charlemagne? You must be 600 or 700 years old, at the very least.
Trouble's done it, Bilgewater, trouble's done it. Trouble's brung these gray hairs and the premature balding. Gentlemen, you see before you, in blue jeans and misery, the wandering, exiled, trampled on, suffering, rightful King of France.
The King of France? The son of the King of France.
The King of France by now. And if you want me to feel a bit easier and better, if you was to get on one knee when you spoke to me and always call me your majesty, and always wait on me first.
What?
And don't sit down in my presence until I asked you. That would help a lot.
Yes, sir, your majesty.
Why? Why should you be served first? What's this about sitting down in your presence?
Now, Bilgewater, we ought not to fight. My father was very friendly with your great-grandfather and all the other dukes of Bilgewater, and they was good to your father by my father, and were allowed to come to the palace. Considerable, Bilgewater.
Now, don't call me Bilgewater. It's Bridgewater.
Bilgewater, you and I should be friends.
Well, all right. Very well, Your Majesty.
Your Grace.
Like it or not, we're going to be together a blamed long time on this boy's raft. So what's the use of our being sour, huh? Let's not make things uncomfortable. If my four weren't born a king, and take it your four weren't born a duke, so what's the use to worry? Make the best of things the way you find it, I says. That's my motto.
Mine too, brother.
This ain't no bad thing to be stuck here, you know. Plenty of grub here and an easy life. Come on. Give us your hand, King. Come on, let's be friends.
Friends now and forever.
Now and forever. Ah, King?
Yes, what is it, Bilgewater?
I got some plans hatching in my head. I know there's a revival meeting just a brewing down the river a piece. I got a hankering to tread the boards again. I can teach the king here, my friend, some of the fine rudiments of acting.
Bilgewater, I've been looking at your handbills about your being Garrick the Younger at Drury Lane in London, and maybe there's much to be made about this play-acting business at the revival meeting. Anyway, it's just an impression of mine.
Well, fallen graduate, the first good town we come to, we'll just hire us a hall and do the sword fight from Richard III. And in the balcony scene, we'll do, let me see, Romeo and Juliet, of course. I always have to do my specialty, the soliloquy from Hamlet.
Well, that's all right by me, Duke, but right now I've got a hankering for bed, and it's mighty wet tonight, and I'm played out with this exercise that I'm having. What do you say we turn in?
Well, if our blessed young host show us the beds in question, I'd be willing to join you in nocturnal repose, Your Majesty.
Bilgewater?
Yeah?
Well, there's only 2 beds.
Yes, my son?
Jim's and mine. Mine's a bit better being straw tick. Jim's is a shuck tick.
Well,
There's always corn cobs in a shuck tick.
Well, now, son, I'll just take your bed.
Your Grace, Bilgewater, I reckon the difference in rank would have suggested to you that the corn shuck tick wouldn't be fitting for me. Your Grace will take the shuck tick bed.
I will not.
Oh, yes, you will.
No, I won't.
Bilgewater.
Right, Your Grace. Well, it seems to be my fate always to be grounded into the mire, under the heel of oppression. Misfortune has broken my once only haughty spirit. I yield, I submit, 'tis my fate. I'm alone in the world. Let me enjoy my suffering. Leave me alone to suffer. Go away, away, go away. Ladies and gentlemen, hurry, hurry, hurry. Step this way. One night only. The world of great performances from the Royal Haymarket Theatre, Whitechapel and Piccadilly, London. London, gentlemen. London, England. Listen to Hamlet's immortal soliloquy by the illustrious Garrick, done by him in 300 consecutive nights in Whitechapel, and here for one night only. Hurry, 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 hurry. Ladies and gentlemen, admission 25 cents. Children 10 cents. 10 cents, a thin dime and a fourth of a dollar. Hurry, 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 hurry. To be or not to be? That is the question.
For who would borne the whips and scorns of time?
We are precious Rome.
When churchyards yawn in customary suits of black.
But that's not the undiscovered country from which bore no traveler returns.
Reinforced contagion of the world.
And thus the native view of resin shall.
Like the poor cat in the attic.
You speak of it all with care.
Of consummation devotedly to be with.
Hope not that I find those in molted jaws, but get thee to a nunnery.
And damn be who her first cries hold. Enough! off and you get a chance to hear the greatest poetry ever written recited as smart as all that. But when they started to do the fourth time, I kind of figured I got everything worthwhile out of it already. So I thought I'd go, particularly when I noticed a lot of people on the outside of the crowd with buckets of tar in their hands. It wasn't going to be happy around there in a little while. That weren't hard to see. So I beat it out and made it just as quick as I could down the river where I'd left Jim in the raft.
Hey, Jim! Set it loose! Jim! We're all right now. I ditched him. Jim! Hey, Jim! Jim! Where are you, Jim? Hey, boy!
Hey, you!
Do you know anything about a slave that was dressed in brown pants and a blue shirt and...
Sure.
Whereabouts?
Whereabouts? Down at Silas Phelps' place. They catched him.
Catched him?
Said it was a runaway slave from New Orleans.
Where's the Phelps place?
About two miles below here. Hey, was you looking for him?
I didn't wait to answer him. I was too full of trouble. Full as I could be losing Jim that way, and I knew there weren't but one thing to do, just light out to the Phelps place and trust my luck. I must say, my luck held out.
Sakes, who's this?
Good morning, ma'am. Is this the Phelps place?
It is? Well, lads, sakes alive. It's you. At last, ain't it?
Well, ma'am, I
wouldn't have known you. You don't look much like your mother, as I reckoned you would. Do you get your breakfast on the boat, Tom?
Yes, I got it on the boat.
We've been expecting you for days, Tom. What kept ya? Boat run aground?
Yes, Mom.
Well, where's your brother Sid?
Sid, Mom?
Yes, didn't he come with you?
No, Sid didn't come.
Well, he was supposed to.
Hey, Sally, the boat ain't come in yet.
Well, there's your uncle now. What do you mean the boat didn't come in?
Well, if it did, it just come. But who's that?
Tom said so. Tom. Yes, sir. Tom Sawyer.
And who's that?
Who is who?
Coming up the road over there. There.
Excuse me, ma'am. I didn't mean what I said. I'm Sid.
What?
Well, then, who's that?
Well, who did this? Who do you think it is?
I got no idea.
Who is it?
It's Tom Sawyer.
By this time, I was so confused, I almost fell plumb through the floor. But if the old man and the old woman were joyful, they were nothing compared to what I was. Well, it was just like being born again. I was so glad to find out who I was. I only had one worry right now. I had to get to the town before he got to the farm.
Hold on there. Stop a minute.
Whoa, boy, whoa now.
Hey, Tom.
What do you want to come back and haunt me for?
I ain't come back, Tom. I ain't been gone.
Honest Injun? You ain't a ghost?
No, I never went murdered at all. I played it on him just to get away from my pap. You come here and feel me and you don't believe me.
I reckon you're real, all right.
Now, Tom, there's something going on here and nobody don't know but me. And there's a slave here and I'm trying to steal out of slavery and his name is Jim. Old Miss Watson's Jim.
What? Miss Watson's Jim?
Now, I know what you'll say. You'll say it's dirty lowdown business. Well, what if it is? I'm going down and I'm going to steal him. And I want you to keep mum and not let on, will you?
Well, I'll help you steal him, Huck. Where do you reckon Jim lives?
In a little cabin, just back of the barn. You remember that little old shed?
Yep, it's as easy as pie stealing a body out of there.
That's the trouble. This whole thing is as easy as can be. They can make it so rotten difficult to get off a difficult plan. You gotta invent all the difficulties, and you gotta have a rope ladder, and you gotta shimmy down it and break your leg in a moat. Gee, I wish there was a moat to this cabin. You know, if we had time, we could dig us a big one, huh?
But what if what do we want a moat when they're going to sneak Jim out from under that cabin?
Well, it wouldn't do. There ain't no necessity enough for one, huh?
Necessity enough for what?
Why, to saw Jim's leg off.
Good Lord, what do you want to saw his leg off for anyway?
Well, some of the best authorities have done it. They couldn't get the chain off, so they just cut their hand off and shoved. The leg would be better still, but we gotta let that go. He can have a rope ladder. We'll cut up our sheets.
What in the nation can he do with a rope ladder?
Do with it? He can hide it in his bed, can't he? That's what they all do, and he's gotta do too.
Huck, you never want to do anything that's regular.
Well, alright, Tom. Fix it your own way. But if you'll take my advice, you'll let me borrow a sheet off the clothesline.
And borrow a shirt, too.
What do we want with a shirt?
To keep a journal on.
Journal your granny. Jim can't write.
Supposing he can't write, he can make marks on the shirt, can he? If we make him a pen out of an old pewter spoon or a piece of old iron barrel hoop or a candlestick or something.
But what'll he make the ink with?
He'll make it out of iron, rust, and tears. But that's the common sort. The best authorities use their own blood. Jim can do that. And when he wants to send any little common, ordinary, mysterious message to let the world know where he's been captivated, he can write it on the bottom of a tin plate with a fork and throw it out the window. The Iron Mask always done that, and it's a blamed good way, too.
Jimmy ain't got no tin plates. They fit him in a pan.
Well, then we'll get him some.
Can't nobody read his plates?
That ain't got nothing to do with it. All he's got to do is to write it on the plate and throw it out. You don't have to be able to read it. Why, half the time you can't read anything a prisoner writes on a tin plate or anywhere else.
Then what's the sense in wasting the plates?
Why, blame it all, it ain't the prisoner's plates.
But it's gotta be someone's plates, ain't it?
Well, then we'll have him dig out with our case knives then.
Tom, there ain't no use in using our case knives to dig Jim out of that cabin.
Well, you wouldn't want us to use shovels, would you? It's too easy.
But confound it, that's just foolish, Tom.
Don't make no difference how foolish it is. It's regular. It's just got to be done this way, Huck. Sometimes it just takes weeks and weeks and weeks, and forever and ever. Why, look at one of them prisoners in the bottom dungeon of the Castle d'If in the harbor of Marseille that dug himself out that way. How long was he at it, you reckon?
I don't know.
37 years, and he came out in China.
But Jim don't know anyone in China.
Ugh.
Silas, look! This letter. There's a desperate gang of cutthroats from over in the Indian Territory going to steal your runaway slave tonight. I'm one of the gang, but have got religion, and I wish to quit the gang and lead an honest life again.
Well, then everything's all right.
They will sneak in at midnight and go in the slave's cabin to get him. I'm to be at a distance and blow a tin horn if I see any danger. But instead of that, I will bawl like a sheep soon as they get in and not blow the horn. Then while getting his chains loose, you slip in there and lock him in and kill him at your leisure. I do not wish any reward but to know I have done the right thing. An unknown friend. Oh, Silas, you gotta do something.
What, Sally?
Well, you've gotta get help, Silas. Run up the village with guns. Bring them to here at once. Hurry.
Tom!
Shh! What is it?
The house is full with men with guns.
No, is that so? Ain't it bully? Why, Huck, if I was to do over again, I bet I could fetch 200. If we could put it all off.
Hurry, where's Jim?
Right at your elbow. He's dressed and everything's ready. You all set? All right, now we'll slide out and give the sheep signal. Shh.
Ba, ba, ba.
That's a signal, men. Let's get him.
Now run for it. Careful, Tom. There's a fence. Hurry, Jim. Come on, Tom. Ow! I caught my pants on the splinter.
Hold it there.
Stay where you are. We're ready to shoot.
They broke for the river. Turn the dogs loose.
Go on, Tom. Don't mind me.
Tom! Ow! Huck!
Well, I'll be darned if it ain't the young'uns.
You mean, man, these are your kinfolk?
Yes, the rascals.
One of them's hurt.
I don't even know what it's all about, mister, but you thought you'd get away, eh? we'll charge you up this time so you can't get away.
Tom's been shot in the leg. Hurry, Silas.
You can't charge him up. He can't. Aunt Sally, he's as free as me as he walks the earth.
He's out of his head.
I mean every word I say, Aunt Sally. I've known him all his life.
You don't know what you're talking about.
That's true, Aunt Sally. We ain't dead. We might as well tell the truth, Huck. I'm Tom Sawyer, and this here, Huckleberry Finn.
Huck Finn? Well, I heard Huck was dead.
I didn't tell you, but old Miss Watson passed away 2 months ago, and she set Jim free.
Well, what in the world would you want to set him free for if he was already free?
Well, that's a question I'm not saying.
Just like a woman, why, Huck and me wanted the adventure of it, and would have walked knee-deep in blood for it.
Well, I never heard of any such nonsense in all my years before. Land sakes alive.
Now then, what did I tell you? What did I tell you back at Jackson Island? I told you I got a hairy breast. That's got the sign on it. And it's come true. Don't tell me any different. Signs are signs.
And another thing, Huck, your pappy ain't coming back no more, Huck.
What's that, Tom?
They found his body floating in the river, so the money is now all yours, Huck. All yours and safe as everything.
Well, Tom's most well now. He's got his bullet around his neck and a watch guard for a watch, and he's always seeing what time it is. So there ain't nothing more to write about, and I'm rotten glad of it, because if I'd have knowed what a trouble I was to make a book, I wouldn't tackled it and ain't going to no more. Thought I'd light out for Indian territory pretty soon, 'cause Aunt Sally's gonna adopt me and civilize me, and I can't stand it. I've been there before.
You've been listening to the Campbell Playhouse presentation of Huckleberry Finn, adapted by Orson Welles and performed by the Great Southwest Radio Theater Project. Thank you for listening.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Hello is a shampoo that glorifies your hair. Say hello, everybody. Hello.
Use Halo shampoo if you want naturally bright and beautiful hair. Remember, even finer soaps and soap shampoos hide the natural luster of your hair with dulling soap film. But Halo contains no soaps. The first time you use Halo, your hair glistens in all its natural beauty. The natural color and luster shines like sunshine through a clean window pane. And remember, even in the hardest water, Halo makes oceans of rich, fragrant lather. Halo quickly carries away loose dandruff and oils. Use Halo on your children's hair, too. Say hello to Halo and goodbye to dulling soap film. Get Halo shampoo at any cosmetic counter. Remember, Halo glorifies your hair.
So hello, everybody. Hello. Hello, shampoo. Hello.
A doodly dot dot. A doodly dot, Pepsi Cola hits the spot. 12 full ounces, that's a lot. Twice as much for a nickel, too. Pepsi Cola is a drink for you. Nickel, 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 trickle, 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 nickel, 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 trick.
Whether it's in a chilled bottle or at your soda fountain counter, be sure to buy a delicious, cool, refreshing Pepsi Cola today. Pepsi, the nickel drink for everyone.
A doodly dot dot, a doodly dot. Pepsi Cola hits the spot. 12 full ounces, that's a lot. Twice as much for a nickel too. Pepsi Cola is a drink for you. Nickel, 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 trickle, 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 nickel, 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 trick.